All right, Jules, let's stick with Bayern here before we go back and heap praise on Hansi Flick and Barcelona, because, in fact, I'm going to heap praise on Hansi Flick right now. I am so impressed with the work he's done, not just the injured guys and whatever, but how quickly he got them to really change their style, adopt the style. Yeah. Obviously, when you come in, you win a couple games, you get buy-in from the players, it's easier. But this is so unnatural for Barcelona to be doing. Like all the talk of La Masia and stuff. We play a certain way, blah, 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 La Masia. Yeah, okay, that's not the way you're playing with Flick.
No,
so he's come in and he's changed all that. He's the ancient center forward who keeps scoring. I just never thought it would come together so quickly for him.
Yeah, and maybe the fact that because he's not from within, compared to Xavi, but even a Koeman, even those guys before. So you can almost arrive without this kind of tag on your back of like, you're from La Masia or you're from Barcelona, you have to play the Cruyff way all the time. It's like, I'm not from here. This is not me. I don't even speak Spanish. I'm coming here and I do my things with my ideas and nobody can tell me otherwise because I was not molded here anyway. So he comes in and I think at times it's a little bit kamikaze. Of course it is. And I think there will be games where they get done. And that might be on Saturday night in the Clasico, maybe.
All right. I just said I was going to talk about Bayern, but I got sidetracked like Flick because he's brilliant.
No, it's fine.
So please go ahead and tell me how they can get sidetracked in the Clasico. Let's just deal with this now.
Yeah, just that I think the high line at times against team that will be smarter than Bayern were yesterday.
Do Real Madrid have a couple fast players up front?
Maybe even more than a couple. Do they have players from midfield? At least they don't have Toni Kroos anymore because I think Toni Kroos would have loved to play that game against the high line. But still, so I think at times it's a little bit kamikaze, but I think it's just part of the whole thing. Yes, they will concede chances and goals, and as we saw even last night, but they will also score and create a lot because that's the pace with it. They go forward in transition from recovering the ball, as we saw on the third Rafinha goal, especially. It's a corner from Bayern, the goal from Pedri to Lamine to Rafinha. That triangle is just, it's 50 yards goal. It's just mind-blowing in many respects. I don't know if physically they can do that all season because it must be super tiring, to be fair. But for now, it's working amazingly well.
And that's why they're getting help from the injured guys coming back. I think they can start really managing some minutes there.
Yeah, very sure.
We're going to get into that later, but I promised you Bayern. Let's go to Bayern. Let's start with Neuer. I'm wondering now if in some ways Bayern have a little bit of a problem. Obviously Neuer, insanely popular, insanely influential, historical reasons. You have a coach in Vincent Kompany who is in his first season, who is new, who does not have a massive CV or a big rep, who was 11th choice when they hired him. We both love Kompany. I'm not going to say Kompany's a genius necessarily.
Yeah.
But he's a very forthright man. He's a person of character. He's a person with personality. Still, it's a big ask to go to the club and say, hey, I'm going to give Peretz or Ulreich or somebody else a shot. And maybe we need to have a conversation. Maybe in January, Nubel is at Stuttgart. I know it's a year-long loan, but whatever. But, we're Bayern. We usually get our way.
Yeah.
I'm just chucking this out there. Is this something he should be doing? Is it something he can do?
Yeah, is it hard to do?
It's difficult to do.
To take on Neuer in a way towards the end of his career. It's not like if just Neuer, I think, has this season left, maybe another one after. And even so, I'm not so sure. I don't know what you do. Do you want... Because again, it's just, I think, too many mistakes. In the Bundesliga, it's fine because they are so good. They are so much better than anybody else. It's fine. And he's still capable on his line to make really good saves. But overall, in his decision-making, as we saw last night, and again, I say that, playing out from the back, that pass that Lewandowski should have scored off, and then the one that is blocked by Lamine that almost goes in straight away, thinking like, you can't expect to go far in the competition when this is possible. And then the Aston Villa defeat is on him too.
Is there a parallel with the last days of Gigi Buffon at Paris Saint-Germain?
Yeah, that's very true. Very similar. And especially, and the Champions League, I think more than the league, because the Bundesliga, like Ligue 1, are just easy leagues for them. But the Champions League is where you can be exposed and where your limits or limitations, I think, show up very, very easily because of the level of the teams you play against. And Villa are not as good as Barcelona, obviously, but that goal he conceded is on him. And yesterday, of the 4 plus the mistake that he made, again, I think he's partly to blame.
You said the Bundesliga, like Ligue 1, is, not difficult for them. I think you might want to speak past tense there, because honestly, this season, not just last season with Bayern Leverkusen, this season with Leipzig, at least domestically, who knows, could be a different story. Look, it's not all on Neuer. We saw Kimmich really struggle, responsible for one, maybe arguably 2 of the goals. Palhinha looks like a foreign object out there. I made the point at the weekend. Now, obviously, he's come on for Pavlovic.
Who's a big loss, to be fair.
He's a big loss, got hurt after 7 minutes at the weekend. I'm wondering if I just think he's such a different profile of player from Pavlovic. Was there an immediate choice that maybe Kompany, with hindsight, maybe this would have been a game for Goretzka, or maybe more likely for me at least, a game for Leimer, where we just say we keep things a little tight, take some of the pressure off Kimmich, because Palhinha simply didn't look like somebody who knew what was going on.
Yeah, I think he had one start before Wednesday night. And I just think to throw him in the deep end against a team like Barcelona, as we said, full of confidence and pace, and that runs everywhere all the time and incessant in what they do. And then you put Palhinha there, who's clearly short of match fitness. It's pretty obvious to see, I think. It's just too much for him.
It's funny. I really like Palhinha as a player. I think in the right context, he can be very, very effective. The analytics people absolutely hate him.
Yeah.
Starting with our friend Ryan O'Hanlon and so on, because of his lack of progressive passing, blah, blah, blah. The way I see it, on a team like Bayern, I think, and the thinking might be, you have such attacking fullbacks, certainly when you've got Guerrero and Davies out there, that effectively it becomes a back 3. I think that is the idea. But then you need guys who can play out of the back 3. And the reality is neither Upamecano nor Kim are Beckenbauers on the ball. Palhinha certainly isn't.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the problem. And I'm wondering then, maybe you just play Kimmich in front of the defense, have him become, the de facto third center back playmaking. And you have Palhinha further up the pitch, but then Palhinha further up the pitch serves no purpose. Right?
Yeah, and you need Kimmich, I think, further up the pitch because of the quality he has on the ball, really. And that's what...
Especially when Muller is in there at 10. Maybe it's different with Musiala.
Exactly, but still. And that's what Tuchel didn't want to play Kimmich in front of the back 4 either. And he didn't think that it was the right position for him. And
I don't think he wanted to play Kimmich at all, personally.
Yeah, but
that's another issue. Turning back towards Barcelona, we've waxed lyrical about what's happening. Now you have a situation where we saw Gavi come back at the weekend. We saw Dani Olmo. Even Frankie de Jong.
With the armband at the end. Yeah.
Now, heading into the Clásico, we did our Champions League talking points about how things should change. I think everybody agrees this is not the time to change it. These guys who come back just simply don't have enough minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe they come off the bench if they're needed. So I think we agree on that point. Going forward, though, what role do we see? What role do we see for these people? Like,
I guess
De Jong takes over. De Jong takes over from Casado, right?
I think Pedri, Gavi, and De Jong of the 3 has to be like with against Bayern with Pedri, Casado, and Fermin Lopez as maybe a slightly more advanced of that midfield 3. I think the idea is probably to have Gavi, Pedri, and De Jong if you can make it work, because you also have to defend in there. You can't just have ballers who just keep the ball and play that verticality and that vertical style that we see and just feed Lamine and Lewandowski and Rafinha.
I think there's something very blue collar about Gavi as well. I don't think he's afraid to go and defend. Yeah. A bit like Fermin Lopez, who is sort of an 8/10 if you really have to use numbers, but he's got the mentality of a 6 a lot of the time in terms of work rate, whatever.
Put that effort in for sure.
So you're okay there. Dani Olmo, the big summer signing.
That's the thing.
For me, it's simple. I can't expect Rafinha and Lamine Yamal to play these many minutes all season long, and he becomes part of a rotation with them.
Yeah. Wide to play wide. You mean more than
to play wide? Yeah, you got to go back to playing wide. Sorry, Danny. You can do it. You've done it before. I like that better wide than when Gavi played wide last season. And Lewandowski, I think we got to deal with this. The man is 36 years old. I know he's walking on air right now.
Yeah.
You have to assume that he needs an alternative. Ferran Torres, when fit again, gives you a lot of the pressing.
Yeah.
Maybe not the quality.
Not the
Can
finishing.
Dani
either.
Olmo play up front?
Yeah, as a false nine, I guess, but that's the only options they have anyway. Then, or you find a kid at the, in La Masia, the academy somewhere, like Margot style, who will come on and can maybe do a job now and again, certainly not consistently. But yeah, it might become a problem, an issue at some point. And again, I think we go back to the style. It's a very, very demanding style.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how much more can they go without a bit more rotation, especially on that front three. Rafinha is in the form of his life. He was the captain last night. He scored a hat-trick, becoming only the 4th Brazilian to score a hat-trick in Europe for Barcelona with Neymar, Rivaldo and Ronaldinho. So it's pretty special. And what Vinicius can do on Tuesday, Rafinha can do on Wednesday, great before the Clásico. But I don't know how much, he can't play 55, 60 games a season like that. Neither can Lamine, even at 17 years old, and certainly not Lewandowski at 36.
It's funny. My mind 100% agrees with you. But then I get this little niggling thing. You said he can't play at that level 55, 60 games. I would have said Flick can't go and change Barcelona so radically with the kids so quickly. And yet he did. And I think
maybe.
This is part of what makes this sport so incredible is we're proven wrong all the time because special people do special things.